My name is Jasmine Chavez-Helm, and I am from New York. I graduated from FIT with a master's in fashion history. And this presentation is entitled Recuerdos de Nicaragua, Remembering the Dress of the Indigenous and Afro-Descendants of Nicaragua in German Moravian Photography. So what can dress reveal about people, communities, and their history in a specific place? Well, let me begin with place. My research focuses on the indigenous and Afro-descendant communities in the Mosquito Coast of Nicaragua. The region extends from southeast Honduras along the eastern coastline of Nicaragua. This area was not colonized by the Spanish like the rest of Nicaragua. Rather, it was established as a British protectorate in 1740 and then functioned as an autonomous region, and still does very much so to this day. The area is home to several indigenous groups, including the Mosquito, the Mayangna, Rama, and Afro-descendant groups, the Garifuna, Creole, and Caribbean communities. In this presentation, I analyze the German Moravian-produced ethnographic photographs of the Mosquito, Mayangna, and Creole communities to understand their dress practices. In 1849, the German Moravian Church began a Protestant Christian mission in Nicaragua and built churches along the Mosquito Coast. Quote, unlike other Europeans of that era, they, Moravians, did not come to the Caribbean coast of Central America in search of riches, notes scholar Benjamin Tillman. Rather, the missionaries' goal was to convert the native populations to Protestant Christianity. The Moravian missionaries established infrastructure and civic support that significantly affected the ethnic groups of the coast and altered their material culture, including dress. The missionaries used European-style dress as a conversion tool and spread news of their work through photography. Many of the photographs published were circulated as postcards for tourists entitled Recuerdos de Nicaragua. The images were also used internally to document Moravian conversion and were reproduced for numerous publications and presentations as a form of propaganda. And Moravians did this all over the world during this early 20th century time period. In these images, indigenous people are depicted as quote-unquote heathens in traditional indigenous dress or as good Christians in European-style garments. In contrast, Afro-descendant Creoles were photographed solely wearing European-style ensembles. I studied the photographs to understand how the dress and visual of the Mosquito and Mayangna changed, and how the dress of the Creole functioned due to the presence of the Moravian missions. The Mosquito are native to Nicaragua and have been in contact with Europeans since their arrival in the 1400s. Around 1641, a marooned slave ship of Africans landed on the shore and integrated with the Mosquito tribe. Afterward, the tribe divided into two groups, the pure Tawira, which means straight hair, and the mixed African native Sambo Mosquito, the larger and more politically dominant group. The Mayangna, or the Sumo, are a smaller tribe located in the interior region of the coast. In the 1600s, they were pushed inland as the Sambo Mosquito were subsequently capturing and selling them as slaves. The tribe's remoteness aided their ability to remain independent and arguably resist most European contact until the Moravian mission presence. Many Africans and Black Caribbeans were enslaved by the British to work in timber yards and fruit plantations on the Mosquito Coast. During this period, the African and Black Caribbeans frequently worked alongside free and enslaved indigenous people. As a result, intermarriage and interpersonal relationships between Africans, natives, and Europeans were commonplace and formed the Creole community. When slavery was abolished in Latin America around 1824, in Central America, I should say, free Black Caribbeans migrated to the coast and contributed to the growing Creole community. Dress functions as a medium of communication that can be used to recognize and identify an individual or a cultural group. The Mosquito and Mayangna have overlapping traditional dress elements, including the production of their main textile, tuno cloth, which is made from the bark cloth of the tuno tree. Men in both tribes traditionally wore tuno loincloths, while Mayangna and Mosquito women went topless and wore wrapped tuno skirts paired with beads and body paint. The clothing of enslaved Africans and Black Caribbeans in the Americas was modeled after the dress of their white masters and regulated by them as well. Captain George Henderson reported in 1809 that quote-unquote Negro clothing was imported for the enslaved population, and that each slave in the Mosquito Coast of Honduras was given 2 suits of Osenberg muslin and a pair of horseshoe. Once dress exists, it can be restricted by the moral and aesthetic beliefs of a society, and the Moravians exercised this notion. They utilized European-style garments like long-sleeve dresses for women and shirts and trousers for men to impose their own social mores of modesty and civility to the Mosquito, Mayangna, and Creole people. So this is a screenshot that I took of a photograph by Carl Anton Mueller, and it shows the old heathen and the new Christian, and that's typical language that was used to describe the indigenous people of this area. The transition from traditional clothing to Western European style dress is best documented in Moravian and German produced photography. Together, clothing and photography became key conversion tools for the Moravian missionaries because they considered European clothing to be civilized and encouraged indigenous and Creole people to wear it, which ultimately resulted in acculturation and ethnocide. European dress and a clean appearance were examples of successful acculturation and conversion of the Mayangna and the Mosquito. This concept is reinforced by Carl Anton Mueller. He explained that, quote, as a Christian community life develops, it becomes evident that the very primitive clothing of heathen times must be replaced by neat and becoming garments. He believed that this dress transition was a part of good Christian training. The Creole and Black Caribbean communities were already acculturated to European-style clothing as a result of enslavement by the time the Moravians began photographing their missionary work in the Mosquito Coast, and few descriptions of Creole dress pre-Moravian contact exist. Captain Henderson provided one of the earliest descriptions and observed that wealthy property-owning free Black Creoles had, quote-unquote, an extravagant passion for dress. Creoles and Black Caribbeans became important allies to the Moravian missionaries when they arrived because they spoke English, were anglicized, and receptive to the Christian gospel. Several Black Jamaican and Creole men became some of the most successful missionaries and wore European-style suits that met the dress standards of their Moravian colleagues. The Creole elite participated in fashion and luxury and purchased European textiles, clothing, and materials imported into the coast, and used clothing to communicate and maintain their elevated social status within the eyes of the Moravians. Moravian missionaries became a central part of society and culture in the Mosquito Coast, and they implemented systems that significantly altered the dress, appearance, and material cultures of the coastal communities. Despite the Moravian presence, in recent years, the Mosquito, Mayangna, and Creole have worked to reclaim their cultural dress practices. The Center for Autonomy and Development of Indigenous Peoples developed initiatives to replant tuno trees and reinvigorate tuno cloth production among the Mayangna and the Mosquito. The Creole communities have annual festivals and carnivals and pageants to honor their complex history in the coast. These types of dress reclamation practices enable the Mosquito, Mayangna, and the Creole to celebrate their past and preserve it for their future. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge those in the Americas that continue to risk their lives in defending their land and civil rights against settler colonialism. And on January 30th, a couple weeks ago, the BBC reported that armed men attacked a Mayagna group in the protected Wasawas Biosphere Reserve, killing 6 people and kidnapping 10. The Mayagna community have continually fought against settlers from Western Nicaragua interested in illegally exploiting their land and reserves for timber and cattle industries. And this is an epidemic throughout the Americas. Black and Indigenous land defenders and civil rights protectors are being massacred. Gustavo Lino, the Mayagna leader, exclaimed, "They're exterminating us little by little and the state is doing nothing." Thank you.